What are the marks of a congregation's vitality? What is it that breathes life and energy into a community of faith that might cause us to identify it as thriving? A church that, regardless of size, has a sense of call relative to their place in the world. A congregation that has the resources it needs for ministry and mission. A congregation that's growing spiritually and perhaps numerically, not simply marking time. Well, we've made some observations about congregations based on our visits and conversations with dozens of pastors, lay people, and wider church leadership. And I think it's important to state that while indeed some churches are dying, and the number of churches that are closing their doors to active ministry is an ongoing concern, there are also churches that are thriving. Churches of all sizes that are engaged in the transforming work of the gospel. We've learned that while these churches can differ in some significant ways, size, geography, average age, ethnicity, even their place on the theological spectrum, yet there are factors that are generally consistent in each of these places. We want to offer in this first installment some givens, if you will, sort of stating the obvious up front. In future installments, then we're going to get into some of the specifics. Here's what we know for sure. Vital congregations lack open or underlying conflict. People get along. That doesn't mean they always agree with each other, but because relationships have been built and well nurtured over time, there's a willingness to agree to disagree on many issues. Now, we know this has become decidedly harder in recent years, given the political climate and the circumstances created by COVID-19. I mean, if you belong to a supper club, a tennis club, a service club, doesn't matter, you know that social interactions and relationships have been strained even to the point of breaking. And church is no exception. But congregations that are thriving aren't fighting with each other. Another thing we've observed is that vital congregations are not experiencing crisis. Now, in particular here, we're thinking of either a financial crisis or a leadership crisis. In a thriving congregation, money may be tight, but it's not an existential threat to the congregation's continuance. Vital congregations are not focused on survival. We'll spend some time on leadership in our next segment, but here we need to say that in vital congregations, leadership is neither dysfunctional nor absent. Leadership may be in transition, but it's not AWOL. It's still visible and offering guidance. And most importantly, that leadership is accountable. Leaders' actions aren't hidden, and they're not without reward or consequence. Thriving congregations are not rudderless ships without a captain and crew. In most every healthy congregation, there's a place and process where decisions are made, where discipleship is modeled, and where a direction has been carefully discerned and mapped out and being followed. We've noticed that in smaller vital congregations, people often know and understand that process and in fact are often encouraged to participate in it. While in larger congregations, they can certainly identify the leaders, but the process is a bit more like a good microphone in the worship service. You don't notice it's working until it stops. I'm still hopeful for the church, despite the difficulties we face. And I want your church to be vital, a thriving place where people can experience true community, where they can practice deep Christian spirituality, and where they know of and can bear faithful witness to God's desire for a just world. People are longing for human connection and a sense of community. People are hungry for expressions and encounters with spiritual things and mystery. People are wanting to find their purpose and their place in creating the common good, a sense of justice and equity. In our future installments, we're going to talk about ways in which your congregation can measure its vitality as we talk about leadership, vision, discipleship, expectation setting, communication, trust, gratitude, and innovation. For the Center for Faith and Giving, I'm Bruce Barkauer. Could your congregation use some help in achieving its generosity potential? Contact the Center for Faith and Giving for more information about our consulting program, Generosity Plus.